If you've ever had braces or even just seen an x-ray of your own teeth, you know the human mouth it's a chaotic place.
It really is. Every single alignment is unique.
But somehow, every dentist, every orthodontist on the planet, they all speak the same language when they're trying to describe that chaos.
They have to, and that's what we're getting into today. We're talking about malocclusion, basically an improper bite or alignment.
So that's our mission for this deep dive, mapping malocclusion. We've gone through the sources on these classification systems, and what really jumps out is the why behind it all. It's not just for academics, is it?
Oh, not at all. The sources are very clear on the core objectives. First, classification is the tool that lets you take all those countless, individual variations and aggregate them.
Group them together.
Exactly, into a small number of groups that all share common factors. It's a way of simplifying things.
And that simplification, I assume, is what helps professionals communicate. If you say Class 2, Division 1 in Toronto.
Someone in Tokyo knows exactly what you're dealing with. Yes.
Right.
Then number 3 is just incredibly practical. It helps indicate and simplify the right treatment.
And the last one feels like the most important for the long run.
It really is. It helps us draw more accurate conclusions about etiology, so the cause of the problem, and also how to retain the fix and prevent it from happening again.
So to give you that full picture, we're going to walk through 4 key systems. We'll start with the big one, Angles Classification.
The foundation. Then we'll look at the underlying Skeletal Classification.
And finally, a couple of more modern, precise systems from the British Standard Institute, the Canine and Incisor Classifications.
So let's start at the beginning, 1899.
We have to begin with Dr. Edward Angle. The sources say he built his entire system on one huge foundational belief.
It's a fascinating detail, really. He had this core assumption that the maxillary first permanent molar, that's that big anchor tooth on the top, was invariably in a correct and fixed position.
So it's like the North Star of the mouth. Everything else is just judged by how it lines up with that one tooth.
That's a perfect way to put it. And it's a huge assumption, but the sources all confirm his system is still the simplest, the most popular, and the most frequently used method today.
It's the baseline.
It is. Angle's classification looks at that front-to-back or antero-posterior relationship of the lower dental arch to the upper one. And most people, the vast majority, fall into the first category.
Class 1, the normative majority. The sources put this at around 60 to 70% of all cases.
And the definition is just a normal front-to-back relationship. But here's the interesting part.
That's that.
Even though the overall bite relationship is technically normal in that Class I sense, the case is rarely perfect. Class I is actually where you find all the common problems people notice.
Oh, right. So the jaw alignment is okay, but the teeth themselves are the issue?
Exactly. The sources group these accompanying issues into 3 main buckets.
So local abnormalities. What does that mean?
Yeah. That's your crowding, your spacing, teeth that are rotated, or a crossbite where, the top teeth are inside the bottom teeth on one side.
Then you've got vertical issues, the depth of the bite.
Right, the vertical malrelationships. If you have an excessive overbite, the top teeth totally hide the bottom ones, that's a deep bite.
And the opposite.
A deficient overbite or an open bite where the front teeth don't meet at all. Still Class 1 as long as those back molars line up.
And the last one is size disproportion. This involves a term we should probably simplify, the apical base.
Good idea. The apical base is really just the bony foundation. Think of it as the shelf of the jaw that holds the teeth.
So if that shelf is too big for the teeth?
You get spacing. If it's too small for the teeth, you get crowding. And that's often why you see impacted third molars, your wisdom teeth. There's just no room left on the shelf.
Okay, so that covers the normal molar relationship. Let's move on to the misalignments, starting with Class 2.
Class 2. The clinical term is distoclusion. And for you, the easiest way to think about it is that the lower jaw is set too far back compared to the upper jaw.
It's what most people would just call a significant overbite.
Exactly. And Angle had a very specific way to define it. It's all about where that upper anchor molar lands.
The sources get pretty technical here with cusps and embrasures.
They do. The main takeaway is that instead of meeting where it should, the upper molar is shifted forward by about half a tooth's width relative to the lower teeth.
They even measure it in units, right? A unit is the width of a premolar.
Yes, so you could be a Class 1, half unit Class 2. It's very precise. But here's where Class 2 gets really interesting. It's split into 2 divisions based entirely on the front teeth.
I love this part. Division 1 is the classic buck teeth look.
It is. All the upper incisors are proclined, meaning they're tilted way forward.
But Division 2 is trickier. It can look deceptive.
It can. In Division 2, the two front teeth, the central incisors, are actually tipped backward or are pretty normal, but they're overlapped by the lateral incisors, the ones next to them, which are tipped forward.
It creates a really compressed, sort of squared-off look,
It does. And we should also quickly mention the Class 2 subdivision.
which just means the problem is only on one side of the mouth, right?
Correct. One side is Class 2, the other is a normal Class 1.
Okay, so now let's flip it. Class 3 or mesioclusion.
This is the underbite. The lower arch is in mesial or anterior relation to the upper arch. It's pushed forward.
And the molar relationship is just the reverse of Class 2. The upper anchor molar is sitting too far back.
It is. But the critical distinction here in Class 3, the real so what of the diagnosis, is figuring out where the problem is coming from.
This is where we have to separate the teeth issues from, well, true skeletal problems. The sources call them true prenormality and pseudo Class 3.
And this is huge for treatment. True prenormality is a skeletal issue. It's a malrelationship of the apical bases, the bone itself.
So the lower jaw is just genetically too big, or the upper jaw didn't grow forward enough.
Or both. It's usually hereditary. And when the person bites down, the jaw joint, the condyle, is sitting properly right where it belongs in its socket, the glenoid fossa. The bones are just the wrong size.
But a pseudo Class 3 is different. It sounds almost like a bad habit.
It often is. The sources say it's frequently linked to losing baby teeth too early. A child might push their jaw forward just to find a comfortable way to chew.
So it's postural.
It's postural, and in that case, when they bite, the condyles are not resting in their sockets, they're pulled forward, which means you might be able to fix it without major surgery.
That distinction changes everything. Hereditary bone problem versus a postural habit.
It's a game changer.
Before we move on, we have to mention the footnote, the really rare one.
Ah, the mythical Class 4.
Right, where a person has Class 2 on one side lower jaw back and Class 3 on the other lower jaw forward.
That is a real orthodontic puzzle to solve.
Definitely. So we've covered angle, which is all about the teeth and their relationship to that one fixed molar. But, as you just said with true Class 3, you have to look deeper.
You have to look at the bony framework. And that brings us to skeletal classification. This system basically ignores the exact position of the teeth and looks only at the bones.
The maxilla and the mandible.
The upper and lower jaws. Skeletal Class 1 is normal, the bones line up. Although the sources do mention variants here, like bimaxillary protrusion, where both jaws jut forward.
Okay, and skeletal Class 2.
That's what you'd see with a protruding upper jaw or a deficient lower jaw. It's the bony reason for many Ingle Class 2 dental issues.
And skeletal Class 3 is the reverse, a deficient upper jaw or an excessive lower jaw.
And that's how you confirm that true prenormality diagnosis we were just talking about. Angle gives you the teeth, skeletal gives you the foundation.
It all connects. Okay, now let's zoom in from the big picture of bones and back molars to the fine details up front. This takes us to the British Standard Institute classifications.
Right, the BSI. First, there's the Canine Classification. This is an extra layer of detail. It uses that same tooth unit measurement as Angle's system.
The width of a premolar.
Yes. But it applies it just to the relationship between the upper and lower canines.
So a Class I canine relationship is the perfect fit, with the upper canine nestled right between the lower canine and the next tooth back?
Precisely. Class 2, it's too far forward. Class 3, it's too far back. It's just a parallel system for that key-tearing tooth.
And building on that, even more recently, is the Incisor Classification from 1983. This is hyper-specific to the very front teeth.
It is. It's based entirely on the relationship between the edges of your lower incisors and a tiny landmark on the back of your upper ones.
The cingulum plateau. Let's break that down for you. What is that?
Think of the cingulum plateau as that little bump or shelf on the backside of your upper front teeth.
Got it. That little ledge.
That ledge, exactly. And the incisor classification just defines where the edge of the lower incisor lands relative to that shelf.
So Incisor Class 1 is the ideal relationship, where the lower incisor edge bites just on or below that shelf.
Perfect. Incisor Class 2 means the lower edge is behind the shelf, which gives you that big horizontal overjet. And that's also split into Div 1 and Div 2, depending on how the upper teeth are tilted.
And Incisor Class 3.
The lower incisor edge lands in front of the cingulum shelf. That gives you a reduced or even a reverse overjet, like you see in an underbite.
It feels like the most precise, measurable data point for that critical front-to-back overlap.
It is.
Okay, so let's put this all together for you, the learner. What's so amazing here is how these systems layer on top of each other. You start with Edward Engel's theory from 1899.
A simple, practical, molar-based system that became the global standard.
But it's incomplete on its own. It needs the skeletal classification to tell you if the problem is literally bone deep.
If it's structural, hereditary.
And it needs the BSI's canine and incisor classifications to really nail down the exact relationship of the front teeth. Together, they take that initial chaos and turn it into a precise diagnosis.
It's really something, how one man's core assumption from over 100 years ago still defines the field, even as we've built more detailed systems around it.
It really is.
And that reliance on the fixed molar brings us to a final provocative thought for you to consider. Engel's system says that maxillary first molar is the invariable starting point, the anchor.
Right.
But given that we now have classifications that explicitly acknowledge disproportionate skeletal growth like true class 3, how might our whole understanding of etiology, of the cause of malocclusion, shift if we started to view that molar's position as just another symptom of a deeper skeletal issue, rather than an unmoving, fixed point?
So what if the anchor isn't an anchor at all?
What if it's just another part of the ship that's being moved by the current? Viewing it that way could change everything about where you begin your diagnosis.